you like to see it, pretty well matched. I would say maybe St. Neots have a few feet. That's Anna Shreves, St. Neots Rowing Club. And there we go. Anna Shreves out by 3/4 of a length over Victoria Norton. They're canny racers though, Reading University Boat Club. They know what they're doing. Quite often they've got a race plan and they execute it. And I'm sure that at this stage Victoria won't be too worried. She's still in contact. St. Neots Rowing Club, a reasonably local club to my hometown. They've got 2 crews entered into the WIFOD Challenge Cup at Henley Royal this year. And Anna is a lightweight, putting in a pretty good performance. They sort of go through fluctuations of form. Some years they've got several really, really good crews, and other years they don't have an awful lot going on. But this year seems to be a good stock. And Anna rowing very well as she comes past the commentary tower here. Just straining to break clear, as you say, Samuel, to tear that elastic. Because once you do that in a side-by-side race, mentally you've got complete control. Just to note the last double, aspirational doubles, was a win for Worcester Rowing Club by 2 lengths over Reading University Boat Club. You can see there we've got another race on the course now. Taunton Boat Club on the Berkshire station, and Greenbank Falmouth on the Buckinghamshire station. Sarah Lewis of Greenbank Falmouth. And Anne Hallett of Taunton. And that is it's quite hard to tell which crew started on which station here, but I believe it's the sculler from Greenbank Falmouth.
And that is a commanding lead this early in the race.
Absolutely. Sarah Lewis taking full and frank advantage of her opponent's wayward steering to take lengths. Absolute lengths there. Just keep one eye on the top right-hand corner of your picture, ladies and gents, on the race unfolding between St. Neots and Reading University, Anna Shreves and Victoria Norton, because that one is not over yet. In fact, it's probably the more interesting of the 2 contests, because Sarah Lewis of Greenbank Falmouth has somewhat left her opposition behind.
Yeah. She'll now be looking towards the next few days, trying not to put all of her cards down on the table in this one. Just finish it off.
That could be a little premature. Hasn't quite got to the barrier yet. It's called the commentator's curse, I think. Watch as she falls in about 10 strokes time. But just looking at the top right-hand corner of your picture, you can see the closing stages of the aspirational lightweight single scull 5th heat between Anna Shreves of St. Neots Rowing Club and Victoria Norton of Reading University Boat Club. And it looks like the sculler from St. Neots, barring anything too disastrous in the last few strokes, is going to cross the line as the winner.
It's interesting with the single scull, you can see how many different styles in rowing actually work. So all the different winners have slightly different ways of rowing. And I mean, even at the highest level, no one really rows the same, but they all seem to work quite well.
It's interesting. We often watch international racing and comment on there's different styles the Germans have, or the Russians have, or the Brits have, but even in Great Britain, as you say, there is a huge divergence in how, for instance, Greenbank Falmouth row and how Taunton row. I assume at schoolboy level that's the same in how Borlays are taught to row and how Maidenhead will be taught to row.
Yeah. I mean, it's all just down to the coach and the way they want to coach their athletes. I mean, obviously, Maidenhead, you brought up quite a scientific approach to rowing. And
it works because they win.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's about what gets the results.
Absolutely. And the race 75 now underway. I think the result of race 74 is pretty much done and dusted. So this is Bradford Amateur Rowing Club up against Club España from Mexico, which is our sole Mexican competitor at this year's event. But fantastic to have her across. Yeah, what a trip that is to compete in the aspirational lightweight singles. And at the moment, I think she might have the lead over Bradford.
And I mean, we were talking about the styles just a second ago, and you can see the stark contrast between the huge backswing exhibited on the sculler on the buck station against a quite relaxed finish from the sculler from the buck station.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one hell of an emphasis on the finish there. Pounding it down. It's Zoe Coates. Coates Quartes of Bradford upon Avon, who is trying to keep in contact with the sculler from Mexico, but at the moment there is no way through. I wonder how effective that style is and how much that will take out of her in the latter stages. That Club España sculler, she is putting a lot of emphasis on the finish, but as you say, it's what generates results. So we'll move back to the start for the last heat of the aspirational lightweight single sculls. It's Edinburgh University, Laura MacDonald on the Berkshire station, and Bedford Rowing Club on the Buckinghamshire station. And I understand this Bedford Rowing Club sculler is actually in her first year of sculling, so quite a lot of relative novices on the course today, putting in good shows. But earlier on we saw a girl who'd only begun sculling this year actually not only win but row through her opposition. So you can never ever count anybody out at Henley Women's Regatta. Just a drone shot there of the previous heat between Bradford upon Avon. I don't believe it is Bradford upon Avon. I believe it's Bradford Amateur Rowing Club, actually. Just struggling to keep in contact with Club España. I think if you make the trip from Mexico, you probably want to get through a round.
Yeah.
Just glancing down the course, I can see the fourth heat making its way towards us, and Edinburgh University Boat Club at the moment have total control over that one. At least 2 lengths lead over Bedford Rowing Club. Bedford where I grew up. Although I rowed for Star. And traditionally, Star and Bedford Rowing Club are what you might describe as rivals. But I don't like to be partisan on the commentary feed. Edinburgh Skylar really has wound down. She's, I mean, I'm not quite sure what the rate of striking is. It looks somewhere in the mid to high 20s, which is exceptionally low for a lightweight sculler. And she's just enjoying her Friday afternoon paddle at the moment. Yes, very much in control. Contrast that with the style of the Bedford Rowing Club sculler, who is striking quite a lot higher, but actually getting less purchase on the boat.
I mean, it's not uncommon to see an athlete lower the stroke rate and, in fact, row away from the opposition, because at the lower stroke rate you can focus on your technique, you can make everything that tiny bit more efficient, and I mean it won't be too much slower than you would be if you're at the high rate.
Well, it certainly seems to be working from McDonald of Edinburgh University Boat Club. Putting in an excellent performance so far and in control of that race. So we'll move back to the start for the aspirational doubles. Club España again in action here of Mexico on the Berkshire station, and Mortlake Anglia and Alpha Boat Club A crew on the Buckinghamshire station. Mexico against GB. Once again, Mexico not a nation famed for their rowing prowess, it has to be said.
Perhaps it's a new thing.
A growing sport, absolutely.
Boats, copious boats. So we're out of here.
So coming down the course, Club España in control of this one, ahead of Mortlake Anglia and Alpha Boat Club. You can hear the whir of the drone making its way back up the course to catch up with this race.
Unless you wanted to walk. Lazy is lazy,
And there we again, we see that distinctive style, a lot of emphasis placed on the finish, but this crew are actually very, very good as they come past.
I mean, it's clearly working for them. Seem to have a nice exit of the blade from the water.
100%, yeah, picking up the boat really, really well. As you look at the entry point of their blades, bang in time with each other.
And by using so many more muscle groups and relying on your whole body for the speed, you can take the emphasis off the legs slightly if they begin to tire, and maintain speed. Whereas if you're quite two-dimensional and you're just using the leg drive and a bit of back, then you can tire quite quickly through the middle of the race, and maybe that's what we're seeing from this crew here.
Well, it's must be a fantastic experience to come over from Mexico to race at Henley Women's Regatta, and the Club España crew making full use of their station, perhaps even moving on to foreign waters here somewhat, into the Buckinghamshire line, because they are exploring every inch of the Henley Regatta course. In fact, this has become something of a processional race now, in terms of the way it's done. So we'll look back towards the start for Canterbury on the Berkshire Station A crew up against an Ipswich Sudbury Rowing Club Buckinghamshire Station composite on the Buck Station. Coming up to our final few races here on the Friday of the Henley Women's Regatta. Thoroughly enjoyable day of racing. We've got it all to come again tomorrow. Full programme, semi-finals, quarter-finals, the lot. Deciding who will be competing on the Sunday for major honours. Martin Unsworth behind me just doing some spring cleaning. And here on the Buck Station we've got this Ipswich Rowing Club Sudbury Rowing Club composite. Canterbury crew number 175. Hannah Stewart, who learnt to row at Pembroke College, Cambridge in 2011. So she's been around in the sport for a little while. And Helen Fishwick, who learnt to row at 2013 at St Paul's Girls' School and was a lightweight spare for Cambridge University Women's Boat Club. You might be able to hear there's a bit of support
Tell you how to say it.
for Cantabs. There we go, I can't get caught out. Pull that finish through, girls. But at the moment, that support is having very little effect because it's the Ipswich Sudbury composite. Looking very, very good, has to be said. That was the most intense round of support I've heard all day.
I don't, yeah, give me glasses.
So as we watch that Ipswich Sudbury crew make their way down the course, edging out Canterbury at this stage, I'm going to hand over to Martin Unsworth to guide you through the final few races of the Friday of Henley Women's Regatta.
We got a couple more races of the aspirational double sculls. Maidstone and Victor up against Lee. And then it's Nottingham Rowing Club, Warwick Boat Club. And the last race of the day, scheduled to take place just after 6 o'clock. Championship 8, Drexel University, United States of America against University of Rhode Island, United States of America. So you've done lots of research on them, no doubt?
An all-American battle.
Yes.
Yeah, so University of Rhode Island coming over from the East Coast to race Drexel University also from the USA on British waters. And I think it should be a good race. And the Champ 8s.
And then there's a bit of time trial going on. We go off on air straight after that. I think the time trials are for the juniors, if I saw it earlier. And then racing, side-by-side racing commences tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the morning. And we are looking at junior singles, junior doubles, coxed fours and quad time trials in the morning from 8:15. And as I say, the first side-by-side race scheduled for 10 o'clock. Long day tomorrow, right the way through up until the last race of the evening at 10 to 7. Is that right? No. A bit later than that, I think, actually. Oh, no, it's 20 to 7. So, full day tomorrow, and then onwards to Sunday. Few semi-finals and the finals on Sunday. 3 full days of racing here. Henley Women's Regatta 2018, the largest entry so far, and one of the nicest days. I think you've got to say perfect conditions for rowing. Hardly any breeze at all. Beautiful, beautiful evening here in Henley. as we're watching the images of the final race just finishing and crossing the line there. It was the Ipswich Rowing Club Sudbury double scull. And we are looking down at the start for the last couple of races. Maidstone Invicta due next against Lee Rowing Club. So, my friend, have you enjoyed your first day at Henley Women's?
Yeah, I think it's been great. My first ever time doing some commentary, and I think it's been some excellent racing for it. It's been good to see a really great exhibition of all the ways you can pace a race, different styles of rowing, a really high level of rowing going on here.
Yeah, I was listening to your point earlier when you said this is a different distance. Not only is it side by side, but it's also 1,500 metres, which is a little bit different. As Henley Royal is different for men. Henley Royal is different because it's over 2K. It is a different distance, and I suppose you made the point there about training for such an event.
I mean, in a sense, it can favour the newer rowers, like we saw from the row who began rowing at Cambridge. It allows you just to focus on something that you're slightly new to, in a sense that a 1,500 metre race requires more aggressive start. You can afford to maybe go out the blocks a bit harder, as there's less of a chance of you blowing up before you reach the line. But like we've seen in a lot of races today, especially in crews beginning on the Buck station, if you go out too hard, even in a 1,500 metre race, you can pay by the end.
And right on cue, they're talking about going out too hard. Maidstone and Lee on the far side, top of the island, being given an opportunity to push ahead, as Maidstone Invicta had pushed very, very hard, but they're steering slightly off. The umpire intervened, warned them to come back on station. That manoeuvre has opened the door for Lee, who have taken a lead to about a boat's length. We can see them coming up now through the meadows to our commentary point, and looking about a length to you.
Yeah, I think Lee have a really strong women's squad this year. From the racing I've already seen today, they've shown two really impressive fours, and I think in this double we can see another really successful Lee women's crew looking really smooth as they go past the commentary tower here.
And they're holding still that length lead, I suppose. Clearwater, is it just about? And there's something fascinating there, isn't there, about just getting clear water between you and the boat that's following you. If you can just maintain an overlap as the boat following, psychologically it just seems to work. You feel like you're still in it.
Absolutely. I think once you get clear water, the bow woman of the crew chasing all of a sudden can't really feel your presence on the course anymore, and that's a major psychological impact, and it can almost make them feel like they're on their own at that point in the race, which really helps. And also you just have, even in your peripheral vision, a good view of the other crew.
So as is the norm for Friday, 2 races on the course. The start of the penultimate race, Nottingham Rowing Club Warwick, underway, making their way down the back of the island. Both those double sculls have managed to stay apart. Crew nearest to us,
It
Nottingham.
looks as if Nottingham possibly are coming across.
Yeah, they're rating a lot higher. I'd say that they've got a decent lead as they're making their way up towards us, keeping an eye on that other race that's on the course. Lee still with the advantage there. They're going through the boating area. heading down towards Upper Thames. So they've still got a little distance to go, but Lee have the advantage there. In front of us, then Maidstone, Nottingham Rowing Club Warwick. And it's Nottingham still with the advantage, but Warwick look to have had a bit of a push there to get back on terms.
Yeah. I think coming out the start, maybe their steering was slightly wayward, but it looks like they've settled onto a good rhythm now. Really coming through again, quite comfortable. But there's probably a length of clear water between the crews.
Yeah, as they pass us now, that is a length, and that is, yeah, getting on for a length and 3/4. So they head past where we're commentating from, go past the Copus offices, and once they get to the enclosures there, they're roughly about halfway down this 15-metre course. And as we look up towards the town, we can see that the other race is reaching its conclusion. And the camera at the finish shows us.
And that's a collision with the booms there for the crew from Warwick Boat Club. It seems like their race is now likely to be completely over.
Well, they were trying very hard there to get back on terms and put in a very strong push. The last race of the day, this Friday of Henley Women's Regatta, is on the start. Drexel University